Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. I hope you're having a lovely day because you 100% deserve it. Today we are back in the Commonplace book and I'm feeling a lot better about the spread I did. Technically I did it last week. I did it I think on Thursday, but because my freaking Wi-Fi's upload speed is some trash and I needed to figure it out, I just kind of postponed the video until this week, so sorry I missed last week's video, but you know, what are you gonna do? But I was feeling a lot better about commonplacing because I was gonna commonplace about this painting that you can see to the left. I commonplace about a piece of jewelry, and I commonplace, I think just like about like a short, I think I move an excerpt from an unfinished page earlier to this page because it kind of fit the theme. I don't think your pages have to have themes, but it just kind of ended up being that way for me this time. But yeah, if you watched my last video, I talked a lot about how I felt like I was commonplacing in the wrong way because I was like forcing myself to commonplace if I had nothing to commonplace about, and then I was being really weird about what I was commonplacing about. Like, I would say my personal interests are spirituality, gardening, books, jewelry, writing, nature. I'm really into fashion, not in like a TikTok girly kind of fashion, or like not in like a trendy fashion, but I'm very into like personal style, minimalism, interior design, stuff like that. Yeah, here I am grabbing an old piece from an old page. But I wasn't commonplacing about any of that, and I really don't know why. I was commonplacing more articles, even though I hadn't been reading articles. I was like trying to force myself to find like text blocks to print so I could kind of keep this like personal style in my notebook where I have like printed text that I highlight or whatever. But it just wasn't, working out, and I don't want to force myself to commonplace about things that I'm not interested in, because the point, as I talked about in my last video, is to engage with your interests, engage in your hobbies, and feel more connected to them, especially if you don't have a community of friends or family or close whatever people in general that have the same interests as you. It's really kind of hard to feel connected and engrossed in your hobbies and feel like you're actually getting value out of them. I mean, obviously you do, but like, how much fashion content can I consume? It's kind of like commonplacing is a place where I can take all of my thoughts and ideas that I've had while consuming that content that I enjoy and actually put them down somewhere, especially because, not everyone, I'm not going to go up to every single person I know and be like, oh my god, I saw this brooch yesterday and it's vintage and it's Victorian and it has a moonstone and I freaking love it and I want it. It's just like not a topic conversation that comes up all the time. I don't have any friends that are like super into jewelry like me. So, yep, here you can see me cutting said moonstone Victorian brooch that I wish I could have, but it's in a museum collection. Anyway, so this week felt a lot better because, like I said, I was commonplacing about things. And then also I talked last week about kind of wanting my commonplace to be a little bit more journaly and kind of experimenting with adding more like daily things, things that happen during my week into my commonplace, like I've seen a lot of people do. They turn it kind of like into a scrapbook commonplace. I know some people do planning in theirs, but I don't plan. I've never been a planner. In school, when they gave us agendas to write down like homework assignments, I just straight up didn't use it. I just have really good memory and know when things are due and know when things need to get done. So I'm not a planner. But yeah, so we ended up commonplacing, like I said, about this painting. This is a depiction of death. I'll link the artist down below because her art is like super cool. And just genuinely the way that this was painted, this is a very talented painter. I almost thought it was like a really, really old painting. But then I found out it's like a modern artist, and I just think that's insane. The way that she rendered the lighting and the fabric and like the softness of it is absolutely stunning. Yeah, just beautiful. But so I've been, the reason is I don't know, how do I phrase this? I've been having dreams about death, not as like people dying in dreams, but as in like a figure. And I keep seeing death veiled in my dreams. Black veils, white veils, like this depiction, without having seen any of these paintings either. That's how death was like appearing in my dreams, which was weird for me because, one, I've never dreamt about death, and like I said, I'm into spirituality, I'm into witchy things and metaphysical whatever and archetypes. I don't like work with deities or whatever, so I had never really worked with the idea of death, or like death as a deity or death as like an archetype or whatever, but it just kept coming to me in these dreams. And then I started seeing paintings recommended on my For You on Tumblr that were like how I've been seeing death in my dreams, and I just thought it was weird. So like I said, I was commonplacing about it, and it felt really good because it felt more relevant to actually something pertaining to my actual life that I had been experiencing. I got to commonplace about art because I really do like talking about art. After taking a bunch of art history classes in college, I was forced to, but I really do have a greater appreciation and know how to talk about art now because of art school. But yeah, so then the book you see to your left, Wisdom of Your Dreams, that's my current read too. The thing about dreams and dreaming is that the more you talk about your dreams and the more you talk about dreaming, the more likely you are to remember your dreams. If you're not someone who dreams, you are dreaming, you just are not remembering your dreams, or you're not having a quality of sleep that allows you to remember your dreams. I have always my entire life been a very active, vivid dreamer. I've lucid dreamt before. I can't do it on command, but I've done it before. I have weird spiritual feeling dreams, a lot of stuff like that. So this book, I'm only 40 pages in, and it's really dense. I have to read it very slowly, especially because I've been doing it before bed when I'm half asleep already. I shouldn't do that. But it's been a really interesting read, and it's been talking about how every dream has layers and layers of meaning, and one symbol can be interpreted 3 different ways, and that doesn't mean one interpretation is wrong. The author says that all 3 are probably right. They probably just pertain to different aspects of your life, or one is more physical and telling you something about your physical body, and then about your mental state, and so it's just very interesting. I've been dreaming more vividly since reading the book. Like I said, the more you talk about dreams or your dreams, the more likely you are to start remembering them. But yeah. I have to talk for 20 minutes. This is kind of a long video, so bear with me as I kind of ramble and kind of talk. And like I said, then I kind of commonplaced about this jewelry. The color scheme on this page ended up being kind of dark academia, or moonstone kind of, I really think the moonstone is really pretty in this brooch. I've been seeing a lot of starburst and star brooches that are vintage or antique. A lot of them seem to be from the Victorian period, which I find very interesting, and a lot of them have moonstone, which I also find very interesting. I've not really been someone who's into moonstone. Like I said, I've always been into crystals and minerals, and only recently have discovered that that can also pertain to jewelry. But I've never been one who's been interested in moonstone in my jewelry, or moonstone in general. I think I have one super tiny piece of moonstone, and it's really gray, and it doesn't have that glassy, pearlescent kind of moonstone-esque thing, like that glowing blue that it does. It's not quite iridescent. I wouldn't know how to describe that other than glassy and kind of glowing. So it's been really interested to be attracted to moonstone and to find it very beautiful in all these new pieces that I had never kind of known about before. And I keep seeing them everywhere, and I really want one, but they're very expensive, and I can't justify that purchase right now. So they will live in my Commonplace book instead. I've had to learn over the years as well that, sometimes I like looking at things, but that doesn't mean I want the thing in my life. Especially with art or interior design styles or even clothes. I can really like looking at things and really appreciate the aesthetic or the style of something, but I can not want it in my home and not want to look at it 24/7 all the time. but I can have it like saved on my Instagram or my Pinterest or my Tumblr, and when I'm thinking of it, I can go back and look at it and appreciate it. But again, it's not like a physical object taking up space in my personal life, which is like a very freeing feeling. When I moved into this apartment, I brought my childhood curtains and my childhood quilt because I was seeing all these really beautiful, I don't know if the style has like a name, but maybe if I describe it, you'll know what I mean. It's like the English cottage core, and it's like all the soft muted colors with all the crazy prints. It's like English, it's a very English style of interior design that's very pattern heavy, it's very feminine, and it's about mixing and matching patterns and all the and like color matching to your patterns, and soft English countryside maximalist is how I would describe it. And I really love looking at that style, and I thought that I wanted it. So I hung my childhood curtains and I put the matching duvet out, because that's what my room was decorated at, like when I was young and I didn't get to pick anything, because I was obviously too little. Like that's how my mom decorated my room, and it was very nostalgic for me, and I was seeing it everywhere. So I hung up the curtains and I put the matching bedspread up, and it was like too much pattern for me. I was anxious. I like didn't want to look at my room. So I took down the curtains and I put up my plain white ones that I've always had, that are like sheer, and then just left my plain white quilt that I've always had and I love, and it just felt more me. So yeah, kind of how last week I was saying, or maybe I didn't say, I don't know if I touched on it, but like, you don't have to be your favorite characters, or you don't have to, if you're like, for example, into Lord of the Rings, you don't have to have Lord of the Rings themed everything in your life. Or if you love The Cruel Prince, you don't have to have fairy themed items all over your house, and you don't have to dress like that. Like, you are not characters, and I am not my characters that I've written. The kind of same thing applies, is just because you really, really like an aesthetic, or you really, really like a thing or a hobby, doesn't mean you have to do it or make it your entire personality, which is kind of a freeing thought. Like, one, it just saves you money, and it saves you time, and it saves you energy, and it saves you like decision fatigue, because like, you know, like, I think it's worth trying, right? Bringing little pieces in. Like I said, I tried the curtains, I tried the blanket, and obviously it didn't work, so I just took them down, and I'll keep them because, like I said, they're nostalgic and they're from my childhood house and my childhood room, but like, I don't have to make my entire apartment that style, if that makes sense. But yeah, I hear my little fairies. I guess I'll tell you about my whirlwind of a week. I had a crazy weekend. So I work at a restaurant. I do a little bit of everything at the restaurant, different positions. So I was in the kitchen one night, and I was chopping lettuce, and I chopped my thumb. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to be graphic and ruin everyone's evenings or days or whatever. But it was not a fun time. I'll leave it at that. And then the next night, our coworkers were going to go out drinking, and I got invited, and my boyfriend got invited, and so we went, and then my ID got turned down. I'm 24. I've never had my ID turned down before. I have been asked for my ID because I look very young, but I've never had my ID denied before, and been told that they think it's fake. Well, that's a lie. I did have a TSA agent one time, when I was out of my home state, ask me if my ID was real, and I looked at them and I said, why would I try and go to an airport with a fake ID? And then they just looked at me, and I was like, it's a new design. You can look it up. And they let me through. So yeah, the state that I'm from, they changed their like ID design when I was getting my ID when I turned 16, right? So I've always had their newer design, and I just don't think people that are not, especially the further you get from my home state or the less populated states, people look at it and they're like, what the fuck, I've never seen this. So yeah, I got straight up told that my ID was fake, and when I said no, like, you can check the UV, you can scan it, you can do whatever, like, it's not fake, and they just were like, no, you can't be here. And I was like, oh, okay. Which was not fun. But yeah, and then that morning at work too was like awful. We were completely understaffed, and then it got like extremely busier than like it should have been, So it was just not a fun week. But then it did get better because then I just decided to go home. And when things get rough, I usually turn to, like I said, just staying at home and taking care of myself and doing things that I know I like. So I just would sit on the balcony and watch the stars. My tomatoes, it was literally like the next day my first ever tomato ripened and was ready to pick. So you can check my Instagram. I posted about it because I'm ridiculous. And I made my boyfriend take a bunch of photos of me with my little tomato, and I'm gonna eat it for dinner tonight. He didn't want to eat any of it, which was weird, but also he grew up with a grandma that gardened all the time. So he is like very used to the whole gardening thing, and I've like never done it myself before, and I'm like, oh my god, I grew a tomato, like it happened in front of me, and that's been a really rewarding process. I keep saying in videos that I want to start a garden journal, and I want to print out photos, and I don't want to use my sprocket, HP sprocket printer. If you haven't seen reviews of that and you've been looking at it, don't get it. It's awful. No, don't do that to yourself. So I want to print like actual photos of it, but that just requires like gathering all of them. And then I like Costco photo prints. I know you can get prints done at like Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, but I don't like the quality. I only like Costco quality. I think it's the best quality. I haven't done Shutterfly. I think my sister uses Shutterfly. If you've used Shutterfly and you like the quality, let me know. So then it's a matter of like collecting all the photos to print out to kind of save on like shipping costs and stuff like that. And usually if you order more photos, you save more and all that. But I'm thinking about doing digital now, at least at first, just so I can like, I've been like recording on my notes app, different things and taking pictures as the process goes on of gardening and growing things, so I can kind of keep track of how long things have taken, or what it was like, or what I thought I was doing wrong, and what I would do differently next year. So I think I just need to do it digitally, just so I can get it done. But yeah, let me know if that's something you guys would want to see, like a digital journal. I would probably use GoodNotes. I know some people journal in Procreate, but I'm not that talented. I think I would just use GoodNotes or something. Yeah, and I'm working on like a grimoire book of shadows. That's more personal, so I don't know if I would share any of that. But yeah, I actually haven't even like written journaled in a long time, and I haven't written fiction in like a few months now, which is really weird. But also I think it's a sign that my mental health is doing good. Because usually, and I've had ideas, and I've been trying to do like world building kind of, like when I'm showering, like different thoughts will come to me in world building, and I've tried to play with different concepts, but like nothing when I actually sit down to type comes out. It's not really writer's block, it's just I think I'm missing some sort of information or puzzle piece for a story I'm working on, and I don't know how to get it, and sometimes that's just life. You can sit there and you can type away and you can but I've never been a writer that can sit down and force myself to write. If it's not coming, then it's just not coming, and then 6 months from now I'll probably have the biggest burst of inspiration, and I will do nothing for 4 days except for write, and I will ignore all of my life's responsibilities and obligations. But that is how it be with the muses. So yeah, I'm finding enjoyment in writing in other ways, in smaller ways. I haven't journaled in a few days, but I really had a crappy weekend, and I was like, I don't want to, like, it was one of those weekends that it was so bad that I was like, I don't want to write this down. And I didn't really see any relevance in, like, it was nothing that I would want to reflect on. Like, oof, I got hurt at work because I wasn't being careful, and then my ID got denied. That's nothing, like, that my future self would, like, really want to reflect on. It's not like I was having a hard time with, like, transitioning to this new place that I'm living in or anything like that. It was literally just, like, no, it was just, like, unlucky string of events, which I need to get back into astrology, because I think the planets are doing weird things right now, and I think it's Saturn. I think Saturn's doing some weird stuff right now. But yeah, I guess the moral of the story for this video is please commonplace about things that you want to commonplace about interests that are actually your interests. And personally, I think I need to be more open about my interests in my videos. I don't think I've really gone into my interests except for jewelry, because that feels like a safe, non-controversial interest. And the spirituality feels kind of like I'm dipping my toe into a lake that not everyone's going to enjoy, which I need to just remind myself that that's okay. And commonplaces are for myself, and this is for myself, and this channel is for myself. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to be famous. If it happens, it happens, cool, whatever. But I'm not trying to be famous. I'm just trying to connect with a cool community that I like, and engage with my hobbies in a new way. But yeah, I don't want to sit here and waste your time and ramble, so I'm going to let you enjoy the last 4 minutes of finishing this page in the beauty of Lofi Geek's music. And I hope you have a lovely, lovely day, because you 100% deserve it. I will see you all next time.